Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 382. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we have Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
Just a disclaimer at the top of the show. There's a car show happening right now where I live, literally right downstairs. So you may hear some loud car noises as I'm talking. And believe me, It's like 10 times more annoying to me than it will be for you because it's so loud. And it's been nonstop since Friday night, so.
Yeah.
So we're
definitely loved it.
Oh my god, it's so, and you know, like, it got cool here, so we have the windows open, you know, like, let that nice ocean breeze come in, but no, it's a double-edged sword we're dealing with here. Got the nice breeze, but it literally smells like gasoline in our living room. I'm not shitting you. It actually does.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Yeah. It's crazy. So again, I'm going to try to like mute as much as I can to cut off my sound and try to remove it in editing as much as I can, but there might be some car sounds and I apologize for that. Anyway, we're kicking off the Halloween season with a bang this week. And we're going to be reviewing Brandon Cronenberg's Possessor Uncut, along with some of what we've been watching on the watch list, and this week's new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be very helpful. I don't really have anything to go over with housekeeping, so I think we can just jump straight into our review. We're talking about Possessor Uncut, formerly just known as Possessor.
Yeah, when that happened?
I have no idea. So there was a trailer released way back, and it was really awesome. It was really exciting. And then like another trailer came out, I think, or maybe it was just the first trailer. Anyway, I guess when Neon picked it up, they decided to add the uncut at the end. Because I know that Well Go originally had it, and then there was some kind of deal with Neon where Neon got the distribution for it, and Wellgo is going to be handling the home release. So there's something weird that was changing hands, and the thing is, like, to say Possessor Uncut, it sort of implies that at some point there was a cut version of this, but in my research, I could not find any cut version of Possessor. Like, it played festivals, presumably uncut, and now it just came out this weekend in theaters, and it's also uncut. So I'm not sure, and I tried to figure out like all of the press materials I have and stuff. It doesn't mention anywhere on it that like why they added the uncut thing.
Yeah,
and if you see the trailer, there's a Red Band trailer that came out, and it says like, you know, this is fully uncut, and this was like the director's full vision or whatever. But it's like, was there ever a time when they were telling him no, like, you can't do this, you have to cut it? So that's what I'm curious about. But anyway, this is written and directed by Brandon Cronenberg. I have a synopsis here. Possessor follows an agent who works for a secretive organization that uses brain implant technology to inhabit other people's bodies, ultimately driving them to commit assassinations for high-paying clients. Now, Kevin, I know that in the past you've expressed discomfort in movies that have very extreme amounts of realistic violence. So my first question to you was, how did you handle Possessor Uncut?
You were right. This is pretty brutal. The violence is not for the squeamish, and I gotta say that I didn't necessarily mind the violence too much, but it is odd though, because that is my biggest qualm with this movie, is the violence. And it's not necessarily like the violence or like the level of violence or anything along that line, but more so of the fact of this movie has some really interesting concepts going on. which is very, very intriguing. But at the same time, I feel like Brandon Cronenberg doesn't really like inspect those concepts that deeply. It seems like he's just far more interested in like violence. Just I'm gonna come up with some fucked up things, and I'm just gonna show them, you know, just unbridled violence. Just to have it close up on that knife going into flesh a lot. I'm gonna show it a couple times because that's what I'm really interested in here. Like it seems like that's all he's really interested in. Even though like the concept of this story of these corporations and using assassins with brain implants and all that, like I feel like we can do so much with this. But it seems like Brandon Cronenberg's like, okay, I have all these great elements. You know what? Knife going into a throat. That's really what I'm going to focus on here. That's the big takeaway.
Well, I understand where you're coming from. I think that a lot of it was a reflection on the toll, the mental toll that this was happening, that this was taking on Andrea Riseborough's character of Voss. She's the main assassin character who's going into people's bodies. And I agree with you. I think that the concept here is, I mean, whoa, what a great concept.
Yeah.
However, I didn't really have a problem with the violence. I think that it is very overt. I think that it's impossible to not talk about the level of violence when talking about this movie. It takes such center stage often, and I think that you're right. It does overshadow the overall core mechanics of this world, and I think that I don't know if that's. I mean, I guess you had a problem with that, and I can totally understand why. But for me, I didn't find it to be much of an issue.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily an issue to me. I felt like it hampered the movie reaching its full potential. I think like you could have something so much better with this. All the facets that you have here, it could have came out a lot better. But it was just so much of this focus on, and especially with I guess it's the second kill with the fireplace poker thing.
Oh.
That's where I was just like, that was at the point where I was like, okay, Cronenberg is definitely not interested in all the other mechanics of this. He's just kind of using this as an excuse to, brutalize people. All right, so I'm not getting what I was here for, but like to me, it still worked. I just feel like he just really hampered the overall potential of this movie.
It certainly is. It certainly is a brutal movie. He does not shy away from showing every gruesome, gory detail. And the thing is, like, it's very, very realistic looking too.
Oh, extremely.
The special effects work done in this movie is outstanding. It's so good. I mean, in that opening scene, first of all, the movie opens with one of the assassinations, and what a way to open a movie. It hits the ground running, and it's like immediately shocking. And I think that just sort of sets the tone for the whole movie. Like, this is going to be a provocative movie. This is going to be a movie that's going to be hard to watch at times and make you feel uneasy as you're going through it. But that knife going into that dude's throat, man, oh my God, it looks so real.
Yeah. And I feel like I got a hint too of what Cronenberg was more interested in after, she gets shot several times. And then there's a close up of her almost lifeless body getting shot in the face and her cheek exploding. I think that should have, it should give me the heads up.
Clued you in on what you're about to witness.
What's going to take center stage in this film? It's not going to be the thing I want it to be. It's going to be the overall brutalization of bodies.
To be clear, though, it's not all blood and guts. I mean, there's a lot of really interesting other things that are
Yeah,
happening in here. I mean, like it
I guess
just
that should be said.
going like step by step through this, like when she enters. So first of all, just the mechanics, like the engineering behind this device, this like machinery that you can use to put your consciousness into like a host body, like take over someone else's body. Like it looks awesome. Like the design work on all of the machinery, like it looks believable. It doesn't look stupid or, completely farcical. It looks like it's very grounded, and it looks like something that could exist at some point, in our distant future. And like just the process of how they do the injection of, one person into the other. And like, first of all, when they showed the scene of them prepping. So Christopher Abbott is like, he's like kind of the host body for this big assassination. And when they showed them prepping Christopher Abbott, and they did that thing where they like stuck that like bore into the top of his head, and they did the close up of like the little chunk of his head with the hair and everything. It was so horrific looking. But anyway, the effect, like when they actually showed her going into his mind, was freaking awesome. How they like the melting, like the body melting thing that they. I mean, damn, that was great.
I think that's more so what I wanted, because I thought those elements worked really, really well. When it gets psychologically more experimental.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
the physical toll of this, and also the toll that it's taken on the psyche.
Yeah.
That was really, because everything that happened in with the melting bodies and the, re-solidifying, and then later on when like she starts to like deform, and then he's wearing a mask of another person, like all that stuff, just, I was like, yeah, now we're in my avenue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that on paper, describing something like moving your own consciousness, I mean, even just thinking about how something like that would work, like trying to visualize something like that, I think is really difficult. And I think that what he does, both in the initial thing where her consciousness is going into his mind, and then also, as the synopsis says, like he starts to regain control, and that sort of push and pull, that sort of battle that's within his mind, where she's trying to take over the body and he's trying to, get it back. The way that Cronenberg visualized that, I think, was really awesome. And then especially, like you said, the scene when he does eventually take over his own body, and there's that head crushing scene. Oh my god! Mm-hmm. And then he puts on the mask, and it's all so well visually represented, and like the like when their faces are like mashed together, it reminded me of like some kind of crazy 80s like Society or Nightbreed or one of these movies, or Hellraiser, like one of these movies that uses a lot of in-camera makeup effects, and I think that just is a testament to how like just detailed this movie is, and how it seems like Brandon Cronenberg just thought of every little detail, and it seems like he wanted to do as much of the effects work in camera as possible. So there's a lot of really cool like camera tricks and things like that. He uses a lot of color in this too, like lots of gel lights that just sort of bathe the scene in red or blue or whatever emotions are being felt during that time, and that all worked for me too. I loved just every visual flourish of this movie.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that ultimately bummed me out a little bit, is because I was really into a lot of those elements of it, and then the concept of it and everything, and I wish that was amplified more than just kind of the humdrum, like, oh, they're assassins.
Well,
Who's killing who here?
to me, it was like sort of a perfect balance. Now I know that typically you like things to lean more into surreal territory, and I like things to just dip their toes into it. So for me, it was sort of that perfect balance between what's happening in reality, propelling the narrative, and then also that sort of nebulous like headspace, like this is happening inside their minds type of thing.
I do kind of appreciate the kind of the smaller scale, but ultimately large scale thing that it's saying here with these corporations, is how they took something like assassinating people and made it overly complicated. Like it's far simpler just to hire someone and have them kill.
But I also
like, it's very easy.
I was also thinking like this company seems like a very legit, like perhaps out in the open company. I mean, it looks like it's got a lot of staff. The facilities look very nice and well maintained. This isn't some like underground operation here. Like this is like a high level thing. So I'm just it does make me sort of want more stories within this world, because where it takes place, I mean, it seems like it is sort of a near future, especially because you see some of the other like small bits of technology. Like it looks like it could take place today, but there's certain things that are off. Like for instance, their whole wall is a TV, and then there's also like the company that Sean Bean's character works for, and Christopher Abbott works for as well. It's his soon-to-be father-in-law, and like they seem to be some kind of like, are they like I don't know what kind of company they are. Are they just data mining, or
Yeah, that's it. But it seems like it's interesting to me because like how advanced they kind of are with their data mining. They're also like far behind, because it's like, why don't you just at this point have AI do it? Like why?
Right. I mean, we already have that, right?
AI to,
like
to
our
processing images, like
yeah, like our Google Homes and our Alexas and stuff are listening to everything we say and talk about as is. So
it just seems really like, just again, overly complicated to have like a ton of Christopher Abbott types putting on headgear, going into VR to watch, your, what are they called, rings and other surveillance that you have in your house, to pick out like, oh, the blinds have a pleat.
Yeah.
These curtains are red. Like, okay.
I don't know. Maybe we're just not advanced to that level yet, or maybe in this reality other advancements took place over AI.
Well, I think that's the interesting thing too, is that like with our advancements, we probably will get in, and we might already be there, where we're getting into a situation where now we're just kind of getting lost in the weeds of like, because again, you're just like, well, don't you just have all the data from people purchasing blinds? Like you just have that. Like you don't even need to go in their houses and see it. Just based off of what people buy, you have it.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, I mean they don't get too much into specifics on how this company functions.
Yeah, but it is interesting though. And I also like to point out that her as an assassin, like she's not good. She's not good at her job.
Well, the thing is, like, so she's supposedly like the best of the best, but like she's a legend. But when we see her in that opening assassination, she's already like breaking. Like she's already burnt out. We see that because she can't pull the trigger at the end.
Yeah.
So she's already.
She's got this fixation with the knives and stuff.
Yeah, something in her broke before the movie started. Something in her broke.
Yeah. It just, again, I mean, obviously, I guess this is very realistic too with these corporations. Just bad management, bad decisions. Like, you should not be investing in her at this point in time. Like, things are going south.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
she
I
hid
don't
it.
know.
She did hide a lot of it.
Yeah, but how much more did you're sitting in the room watching the stuff play out, and it's like, well, shit, we gave her a gun. All she had to do was shoot this dude, and she ended up stabbing him 94 times.
Well, and they did ask her about that. They were like, "We gave you a gun. Why did you stab him like 100 times?" And she said it was because it was going to be more like close to the character or whatever. But
Yeah,
by that point, the audience knows that she's unstable. Like, there's something going on in her head. But you know what? Like, is it really a surprise that projecting your consciousness into another person to carry out heinous, brutal murders would have an effect on your psyche? Like,
yeah.
You can only do that for so long before it starts messing you up. And that's not even considering the health ramifications that this device probably has on your own brain.
Yeah. No, again, I think that's, again, bad. Just bad management and filtering out potential employees. You should have went with someone colder that can just pull a trigger and then move on. But
yeah, maybe she was like that at one point, but I think in a lot of ways she became even more colder. Like, she's ice cold now.
Yeah, but she's ice cold, but she's got that twisted, like she has to inflict some really hardcore violence.
Yeah, I mean, what she does to Sean Bean is like not.
Yeah,
that's not a simple assassination right there. That is. That's savoring it.
She ruined it.
Right. So you have Jennifer Jason Leigh in here as Girder, who is sort of the boss character or the handler or the manager character of Voss. And at one point she does say like she's ready to retire and that she wanted Voss to take over her job. So maybe that's why she was trying to keep her on to transition her out of the, being the main assassin.
Yeah.
Performances across the board I thought were pretty fantastic, specifically with Andrea Riseborough. She was great in this, and Christopher Abbott did a really good job too. So yeah, no complaints there. I thought all the performances were really, really solid.
I enjoyed them as well. To me, overall, it worked. Like, I enjoyed myself with Possessor. I just really feel like there's something special here. Like, this could have been far more fulfilling and far more intriguing.
I've seen it twice now, and I think I liked it even more. I think I liked it more the second time because seeing it again and knowing how it all plays out, I think just afforded me the opportunity to like look at some of the other like just small things in here, all the little hidden cues and stuff within the visions and all of that. So I this was probably one of my favorites of the year so far.
Ooh,
yeah, this is definitely up there for me. I just very, very few things to complain about with this movie. And like, I think that Brandon Cronenberg this is his second feature, and I really liked Antiviral too, which was his debut. I think that this dude's going to do some really incredible things. I mean, he already has done incredible things, but I think his career is going to continue to just shoot upward, skyrocket. But I'm hoping that he takes a cue from his dad and doesn't go to Hollywood. I want him to stay in Canada and just do his own thing, just like his dad did.
I'm far more interested in what he does with personal material, stuff that he came up on his own, not going the Hollywood route.
Yeah,
because I feel like he is. Again, there's a ton of potential here.
Yeah, I mean, like, this movie has been received pretty overwhelmingly positive, but like, I don't know if a big studio looks at this. I don't know if Disney looks at this and says, I don't know if he's commercially viable. I mean, this movie is very extreme, like really extreme. I mean, not just with the violence, but there's some pretty graphic sex in this as well. So it is definitely not for the squeamish. There are multiple moments in this where I just was. I saw this with my dad actually, and
Yeah.
that was a very interesting thing to happen. He covered his eyes in a couple parts.
Oh, I'm
Like
sure he did.
he actually covered his eyes, and
And again,
I remember just looking over at him a couple times, and his mouth was just hanging wide open at some of the stuff happening.
and I can see him again at the end of it. Explain it to me.
He actually didn't do that. Like he got this one, I think, for the most part. He liked it, but he thought it was just so over the top. Like I don't know if he'd ever seen anything like that before, and especially like I don't want to get into spoilers, but what happens at the end, there's just some really crazy stuff you almost never see in movies that happens at the end of this. Yeah. Stuff that like a lot of directors look at as being completely off limits. He does in this movie,
which I did appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, definitely.
That's what I want. That's what I want to get back to. You know, like the original Pet Sematary movie, which ends with the guy just fucking destroying his son, just fucking him up, jabbing him, throwing him across. That's. I want to see some gutsy moves like that. I like it.
Well, I think there's some pretty gutsy things happening in this movie. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and give this a score, Kevin. What are you going to give Possessor Uncut?
I give Possessor Uncut a 7.
I'm going to give it an 8. 8 out of 10 for me on this one. Highly recommend it. Good way to kick off the Halloween season for sure. All right, let's move on and talk about some of what we've been watching. We can start with you, Kevin.
Oh, with me. Okay. I watched the Lost Okoroshi on Netflix. This is a Nigerian movie. What it is there's this security guard, and he's having this dream over and over again of these masquerades, these ancient beings like dancing in his dream, and they kind of chase him. He's always running from. So the old guy in the village is like, hey, next time you're in that dream, don't run away. You gotta, they're like your ancestors. You gotta embrace them. And he's like, okay. So he does that. He ends up becoming the masquerade. So it's him going through, the very modern city of Lagos as this masquerade, and him just trying to navigate the world as an ancestral spirit in the modern world. And there's a lot of great stuff going on in this movie. Visuals are good. There's nice balance of humor and commentary. The original score is fantastic. Like a quarter of this movie is just kind of like a dance film, because a lot of it's just visions of these, ancient masquerades dancing with, of course they have the smoke bombs that are colored, like purple and yellow and all that. So there's a lot of that going on. This was a very pleasant surprise. I thought it was great. And I'd like to see more films like this.
Cool.
Where there's just a lot of creativity going on.
Nice. And that's the Lost Okoroshi.
And that's on Netflix. It's right on there. Get it.
Just check it out on Netflix. Jeez.
Fucking do it.
I continued my Fantastic Fest coverage this week, and I saw Action U.S.A. from 1989, directed by Alan and John Stewart. This was the secret screening that they had, and they remastered it, so it looks great. It's going to be released back in theaters very soon. I think they said November. But what this movie is it's a movie that is written, directed, starring stuntmen. So it's heavy on the action. It's all about the action. It's in the title, Action USA. And the crazy thing is, like, it's actually not that bad of a movie. Like, the script is actually pretty good. It's about this guy who gets into some hot water with these gangsters. He steals some diamonds from them, and he gets killed by the gangsters. And the girlfriend of the guy, she goes into protective custody with these two FBI agents. And so basically the rest of the movie is just this cat and mouse game where these gangsters keep finding them and they keep trying to escape the gangsters, and it just goes back and forth until a big climax. And it's not great, but it's a lot of fun if you're into explosions and car chases and cars getting destroyed and exploding. And there are some shootouts and stuff in it, but they're not great. I mean, they're 80s, they feel like an 80s TV show, but the car chases and explosions, and there's some other stunt work like big falls from roofs of buildings and stuff. So if you're into that type of stuff, maybe check out Action USA. I think this will probably be available on the Alamo Draft House, like Alamo On Demand service as well at some point soon. Okay. So keep a lookout.
Keep an eye out. I watched Fright Night from 1985. I didn't get tricked. I watched the original. Tom Holland. This kind of hit at the perfect time. Going into this, I thought that this was more of a just like straight-laced horror movie. I didn't know that it's more so like a comedy.
Oh yeah.
And to me, it has a I found it similar in vein to like The Burbs. To me, this was The Burbs, but with vampires.
100%.
Yeah. So it worked perfectly for me in the it's not necessarily what I was in the mood for at the time, but it turns out I was. The movie knew. It took advantage of it, exploited it, and I was pretty much into this the whole way. I enjoyed this immensely, and I did appreciate, like, it's not full on comedy all the time. It just kind of has this lightheartedness to it, but when it does need to be serious and kind of turns on the switch for the horror elements of this movie, it works really, really well. Like the effects work are fantastic, and especially like at the end, the big culmination of them trying to destroy this vampire and everything that happens. Just they just went full on into it, and it didn't come off campy or anything like that. Like I thought it was really, really effective. So I thought it really handled the comedy aspects and the more so maybe like serious horror elements of the vampire. It worked for me. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I love Fright Night. The remake is actually good.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's quite good. I mean, it's not the same level as the original, but it's good.
Yeah, obviously.
I saw The Boy Behind the Door. This is it's another Fantastic Fest. This is directed by David Charbonnet and Justin Powell. This is about these two kids, two best friends who get kidnapped, and one of them is left in a trunk in a garage, and the other one is he's like chained up in this bedroom, and the boy in the trunk gets free. He gets out, and instead of like leaving, he almost left, but then he decides that he's going to rescue his friend. So the bulk of the movie is this kid, this like, I don't know, 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid trying to sneak around this house and rescue his friend and not get caught. And it turns out that this is like a kind of a child sex slave type situation where there's like a quote unquote client that comes in and he has to like rescue this kid before this guy gets to him. And it's quite good. It's really suspenseful. I mean, the movie starts with them in the trunk, so there's no like big build up or anything like that. Like it hits the ground running, and I think for the most part it worked. There's some issues I had with it here and there. There's these really weird overt references to The Shining in it. Like they actually recreate scenes from The Shining, which I didn't understand at all because like thematically it doesn't have anything to do with The Shining. So why would you include that in there? Like so for that I didn't really understand it. And there were a couple other things here and there that I found to be problematic, but overall I enjoyed it. Now I will say that like during the Q&A for this movie, one of the directors mentions child abduction statistics and stuff like that, and it was sort of a one-off comment that he made, but he referenced one of those QAnon conspiracies, and I think that it was unintentional. Like I don't think that, like I think he was just misinformed about that thing. But it bothered a lot of people. It bothered a whole lot of people that saw the Q&A.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking as you were explaining this movie. I'm like, oh, QAnon people. They're going to be like, see?
Yeah. So, I mean, and the shitty thing is if you know that going into it, like if you know about those comments, which again, I believe that he just was misinformed about that. You go into this movie with it feels different. Like the whole tone of the movie feels different when you're like, oh, well, this is just some QAnon, bullshit.
Yeah, because I mean, also it's like, was he missing? Because you would hope that if someone's making a movie, they would maybe clear that up before they start the process.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that,
but you never know. You never know.
I mean,
people.
Another defense of this movie is that this movie was being developed and shot well before that QAnon stuff started. So I think that we can give them the benefit of the doubt here. There's also a scene when the guy who paid to have, I presume, to have sex with this kid, when he pulls up, they do a close-up of his bumper of his car, and he has a "Make America Great Again" bumper sticker on his car, which I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, let's not go there with it. That's completely unnecessary. I mean, obviously I'm not a Trumper or anything, but we just don't need that in this movie. Like, it added nothing to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, with those problems aside, I would still give it a light recommend because it is really suspenseful and goes to some interesting places.
Okay. Well, you have 2 best friends. I have 3 best friends.
Oh, man.
One up, yeah. And that's Vampires versus the Bronx.
Oh, we talked about seeing this. If I would have watched this if I knew you were going to watch it.
Well,
I was interested in this.
Let me tell you. Okay. So, one, we didn't need to cover it. There's not a whole lot to talk about, and I kind of knew that going in. There's not a whole lot to talk about. 2, it's charming enough. It does have a good feel of what it's trying to accomplish, and it does do a pretty good job of accomplishing that goal, which is just that it's vampires taking over the Bronx. They're buying up all the buildings, education. And these 3 kids, they kind of figure it out right off the bat. They're like, oh shit, vampires. We got to take care of business. And no one else really believes them. And then, as things progress, people start coming over to their side and, they fight back against the vampires. Now, again, it's charming enough. It's not fantastic. It's not really that memorable. But I will say that this movie is an hour and 25 minutes long. This felt like an episode of TV. Like, I literally turned it on and it felt like 30 minutes later it was over. And I was kind of just like, that's it? Like, I feel like we could I think that this almost would work better as a TV show because there's this, they have all these characters that, people living in the Bronx that I would like to know more about.
Hmm.
So, like, yeah, it's good enough for what it is. It's a nice, easy night, easy viewing, charming enough. A little chuckle here and there, a little chortle might get you,
All right.
but
Yeah,
nothing too special.
I think I'm still gonna give it a look. Vampires versus the Bronx. That is on Netflix. Give that a look. I saw How to Deter a Robber. Again, this is still Fantastic Fest. Pretty much everything I saw this week's Fantastic Fest. This is directed by Maria Bissell. This is a comedy thriller, Christmas comedy thriller. So I'm already, that's like one tick in the positive already. Love me some Christmas horror. This is about a boyfriend and girlfriend who sort of they discover that there's this like spree of robberies in their neighborhood, and the they sort of get blamed for one of the robberies through a series of dumb choices made by them, and they end up they have to stay in town, so that their parents are leaving and they have to stay, so they decide to stay with the girlfriend's uncle, and they set up like all these booby traps and stuff around his house because they think that the robbers are still there. Well, guess what? The robbers do show up, and it's fine, I guess. Some of it was genuinely funny. Like I laughed multiple times. There's some really funny stuff. Although a lot of it I found to be a little bit annoying. The boyfriend, I believe he's played by Chris Mulkey. He's just super annoying because he's so dumb. Like he's just a big idiot, and he just makes every wrong decision that you could possibly make. And it's played for laughs. Like he's supposed to be stupid, but sometimes I found it a little bit grating. Overall, it's just a very light, sort of inconsequential movie that I had an okay time with. So I can't really recommend it because it's not like there's nothing really super memorable about it or anything.
Yeah.
But, it had a couple enjoyable moments.
Yeah. It sounds like a Vampires versus the Bronx situation.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Vampires versus the Bronx sounds better than this, but we'll see.
Yeah, because you got two things that are pretty good, which is the Bronx and vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going head to head.
Mm-hmm.
They're facing off. I mean, what more do you want? I mean, maybe a better movie, but so you have Christmas horror. Look at this segue. I have Valentine's Day horror. My Bloody Valentine, 1981.
Didn't make the mistake here either.
Nope, did not. I'm on top of my game. I won't get 40 yet.
This is a situation where the original is far better than the remake.
I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that because this movie's pretty fucking good. Obviously, there's a lot of correlations to be made with Halloween, with the point of view, the heavy breathing, taking place on a holiday, that kind of thing. The killer ended up in a state hospital, mental ward type thing. So it does feel a bit familiar. But overall, this movie just really, really worked for me. Pleasantly surprised that it was Canadian. As soon as someone said sorry, I was like, oh shit, this is Canadian. This is awesome. I love it. And I love the setting. Like, a small mining town. And then this guy, quote unquote, comes back to murder people. Why does he? Like, none of this really makes sense. Like, why is this mining town so hell-bent on having a Valentine's Day dance for the first time in like 20 years? And of course, killings start happening, so they're like, shut everything down. But all the miners are like, we're still going to have a party because we gotta for some reason. And of course, people continue to get killed.
It sounds so familiar.
They get killed in some pretty gruesome ways. And like the effects work on the violence was pretty phenomenal, I thought.
Yeah.
And now the only thing is, because reading afterwards, after watching this, I guess for a long time there existed the one that you could see had a lot of stuff cut out. So I'm not 100% sure what I saw. Like, I don't know if I saw like the whole, did I see my Bloody Valentine uncut?
Yeah, I'm sure they have like
I don't know.
like the run times. You could compare the run times probably and figure out which one you saw.
I think I saw the uncut one, because a lot of the kills that people are talking about, I saw them all, I think. But it's people getting killed in a mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome. That's fucking great.
A lot of pickaxe murders, if I remember correctly.
Oh man, pickaxe murders. Guy getting drowned in boiling hot dog water. Are you kidding me?
Gross.
One person gets killed and thrown in a dryer, and she's in a dryer for like 8 hours overnight, and they find her. Fucking disgusting. That's some sick shit.
Yeah, I really like this movie, My Bloody Valentine.
It's so good. I'm so glad that I watched this on a whim. I loved it. Fucking loved it.
Well, there's one horror movie here that I didn't love, and that's Bloodthirsty, another Fantastic Fest movie. This is directed by Amelia Moses. Now, if you remember correctly, just a few weeks ago, we talked about another Amelia Moses movie on the show with Bleed With Me.
Yeah.
Yep. She has 2 movies coming out back to back. This one, it also stars Lauren Beatty, so same star in this one as in Bleed With Me. This is a movie that largely takes place in one location as well. There's more substance here than Bleed With Me, like by far. But here's the thing, like I didn't realize that it was the same director until after it was over, and I was like watching the Q&A, and I'm like, oh my god, like Bleed With Me. Just saw that movie. But this one didn't work for me either, pretty much for the same reason that the other one didn't work, in that there was just not enough here. Like, so the premise of this one is you have this singer who she had a very successful first album, and she's working on her second album. She's having issues with it, and she's experiencing hallucinations, and she's on this like medication and stuff, and then she goes to stay with this famous producer who was accused many years ago of murdering his, I guess it was his girlfriend at the time. Yeah, I think so. But he was acquitted. So this young woman and her girlfriend go to stay with this guy in his large home and work on this second album. And all the while, she's having these like, so the guy convinces her to stop taking her medication, and then she starts having these hallucinations of her turning into an animal. And it's a werewolf movie. Yeah. It goes to some kind of interesting places from there. Like overall though, like I just didn't find myself being very entertained by it. I found it to be a little bit too dull and a little bit too slow.
Yeah. Did people actually talk to each other?
They did. Yeah, they talked more, but not a lot of listening. A lot of talking, but not a lot of listening.
Okay.
Anyway, that's called Bloodthirsty.
Bloodthirsty. That's all I have.
I think I have one more, and that's called Scare Me. This came out on Shudder this weekend. It's directed by Josh Rubin, and it has kind of an interesting concept. I actually didn't know that. I went into this movie completely blind, so I had no idea what it was about. And it's actually about these two people who they're both writers, and they go into the Catskills in order to focus on their writing. and they just so happen to be across from each other, cabins across from each other, and they meet each other. They sort of bond over the fact that they're both writers, and then they decide there's a big power outage, and they decide to sort of hang out together, and they decide to play this game where they tell each other stories and try to scare the other person. So the whole movie is literally just these two people telling stories in front of a campfire, in front of a fireplace, trying to scare each other. Like that's it. Now there is a third person. Chris Redd is actually in this, and he shows up as like a pizza guy. He gets involved and he takes part in the storytelling for a little bit. But for the most part, it's just these two people, Aya Cash and Josh Rubin, telling each other scary stories, trying to scare each other. And the way that they try to keep the audience engaged is by adding sound effects and stuff like that to the storytelling. And the two characters are very like animated, so they're like sort of acting out the different parts and stuff. And you know, there's kind of a twist ending, but for me, the twist ending doesn't really, it didn't really work for me because I just didn't see the point in any of it. But again, like I think it's a cool concept, but for me, it just didn't work. I just was not into it. Anyway, that's called Scare Me, and it's on Shudder. All right, let's see what we have on VOD this week. We have on the 6th, we have Spontaneous. That's the sort of horror comedy about teenagers who start exploding.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. It's with Catherine Langford and Charlie Plummer. I don't know how to feel about it, honestly. We have Treason. On a desert ranch, Grant Wilson rules a made-up nation with his family as his only subjects. When his son takes the mission too far and his daughter questions everything, Grant fights for control in the face of the family, country, and reality.
All right. That kind of sounds like nonsense.
We have Tanner Hall Forever. We have The Ringmaster. Looks like a documentary about onion rings, and I'm not even kidding you.
Oh, is it one word, 2 words?
The Ringmaster is all one word.
Oh my God. You're saying onion rings.
That's what it looks like. I'm just reminded of the time that I watched the documentary about buffalo wings. And I don't even like buffalo wings.
This is weird. This is bizarre. This is an aging chef from Minnesota has his life turned upside down when a relentless filmmaker from Las Vegas tries to make the chef's onion rings world famous.
Very bizarre. We have The Devil to Pay. They started a war. She brought a reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
The Phenomenon. That's a documentary about UFOs, I think. And we don't have enough. We don't have enough of those UFO docs. We need more evidence.
That's true.
Naughty Books, which is another documentary about maybe romance novels. Yeah. It's about the boom of self-published romance novels in the wake of 50 Shades of Grey. And then on the 9th, we have Henchman, which is an animated film. We have Cage Fighter. We have The Doorman. Be Careful Who You Trust, starring Ruby Rose and Jean Reno. That looks like that's about it for VOD. On Blu-ray this week, we have The Secret of My Success from 1987, starring Michael J. Fox. Another Michael J. Fox vehicle from 1991, The Hard Way, where he stars opposite James Woods.
Really?
Yeah. This is, probably back before James Woods turned into a nut job.
Yeah.
Curse of the Undead from 1959. The Deeper You Dig. This is an Arrow release, but it's a contemporary Arrow release. So this came out just last year. The Pale Door from earlier this year. The Tax Collector. That's the David Ayer one. Shia LaBeouf. A lot of re-releases this week. Yummy from... I don't know if that came out this year or last year. I saw it a while ago. It's on Shudder right now. It's a zombie movie that's actually pretty good. It's like a zombie comedy. Valley Girl, that's the remake. Save Yourselves, that's a comedy that came out very, very recently. Or maybe that's coming out like all together, like one of these day and date things. Looked kind of funny. Looks pretty like that's pretty much it. The World is Full of Secrets from 2018. They Live Inside of Us. Sorry, They Live Inside Us. I Used to Go Here, which was that comedy with Gillian Jacobs and Jermaine Clement. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What about Criterion's?
Oh, we got one. That's a Godard. It's Pierre Le Fou from, what is it, 1965. So there you go. Get your Godard on.
Get your Godard fix.
Bellamundo.
Look out. I got my copy of Parasite Criterion this week, and I'm very, very excited to give that a look. I'm going to watch the black and white version.
Ooh. Art house.
Hell yeah. All right. Thank you so much for listening. That's going to do it for this week. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @filmpulse.net and @filmpulsekevin. And if you have a minute, please consider reviewing us on iTunes. That would be very helpful. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.